Click the links to my channel here over at SubScribe now over at Odyssey. So Rachel Leishman over at the Mary Sue, I dearly love. Superman would hate Donald Trump. I'm infatuated with Rachel Leishman. I almost kind of wonder if she's the perfect left-wing AI bot, because I can rely on her to just come up with the most insane cliche left-wing take on every single issue. And my favorite was years ago. It's how bad, egregious it was, that I still remember. It was she wanted to censor South Park because it presented two sides to a story, and she was on Twitter saying, "Well, I don't think there are two sides to these stories. Only one side is correct, and it just happens to be her side, the far left wing, insane single cat lady side." And that, it's another thing is, yeah, you see so many of these younger people, these kids today, socialist, communists, and you look at them, you go, "Lucky, you have all these ideas, all these theories you want to put into practice." And you go, "So, how many kids do you have? How many businesses do you run? How many people are you responsible for your whole life?" And you're talking to some like 25-year-old who works at Starbucks, and they go, "Oh, I have none of those kind of things, none of those kind of responsibilities." "Oh, okay, maybe you should hold off on planning the world for a few years." Anyway, the other thing with the Mary Sue is, and there's a lot of these magazines, Kotaku, IGN, these kind of magazines. Something's not adding up because they're not getting the traffic they used to. But I'm curious why she seems to be writing 90% of the Mary Sue articles, and fresh articles don't come out every day. There used to be way more traffic and movement on the Mary Sue, and now there's every couple days it seems like there's traffic going on. Anyway, so she writes these articles, and she's the one doing the majority of the writing, and they're not getting any comments. So how's the Mary Sue staying in business? Leishman is the perfect left-winger because she's, I'll say chubby to be nice, single, in her 30s. She seems to hate men, or she seems to hate all right-of-center men. And like when left-wing women are looking for men, they're looking for men. They have to, left-wing men who have to be, these sensitive soy boy bleeding vagina pussies, and then they meet these guys and they're like, "Oh, these guys are, there's no physical attraction there, because why would you be?" And so they end up being attracted to right of center people, but then they're brainwashed into thinking you can't get along. And then you look at your parents and grandparents generation, and I remember like people being completely on different sides politically, and it's like it just wasn't a big deal. Trump, 2016 Trump derangement syndrome really did screw up a lot of stuff. Anyway, I'm kind of assuming the Mary Sue is probably like a Soros front to just push globalist propaganda, and like with movies, it seems to be that way. A lot of things are just not adding up with the mainstream, and it feels like these things are getting right below the surface, and they're just about to breach. Is that what whales do? To where enough people are looking at these things and going, a lot more things just don't seem to make sense. And it seems to be centered around the concept of media, where you have a narrative and you need to shift it and control it. On a related note, this is going to be a heartbreaker. They had a black Superman planned out. I'm going to pedal away from the obvious joke with the legitimately dumb Ta-Nehisi Coates, whose books always end up in the neighborhood book exchanges, and they go right in my compost bin. And they also look, they're called, like, I guess, coffee table books that they start to read them and they realize the guy is legitimately low IQ, so they just give them away, and then they turn into my tomatoes a year later. He wrote Captain America, the comic book that focused on how much he hated white people, and the real danger to America wasn't Detroit, St. Louis, Chicago, Oakland, any one of those, kind of cities. That wasn't, or even, the events of 9/11, which lead the world in global terrorism. Those aren't really the when they mention domestic issues, terrorism, they go after that event. After they go, starting in 2002 for the past, you go, wait a minute, why didn't you start at like naturally 2000 if you're going to just do a nice clean date? No need to yeah, that's, I know why you did that. He wrote the Captain America comic books, and it was all like Idaho militias, and those were the really blonde people on motorcycles starting militias, like the backbone of the country, the reason America is America. Plot twist: blonde people in militia are not in Idaho are not the problem. in America. If anything, they're going to be the solution. So if he was going to write Black Superman, it was going to be anti-white stupidity to the point where even J.J. Abrams looked at it and decided he couldn't pull the trigger on it. Or the real villains would be MAGA hat types. They'd be wearing red hats. And who was that guy? Who was that guy that Meyer got in a beef with? Guy wrote the was it Inferno? He wrote eight issues. I think he wrote it with some other black guy. Maybe it was Ta-Nehisi Coates. The guy, like, woke characters are kind of replaceable. Where everyone in Arizona was blonde hair or red hair. Oh God, no, it wasn't Chuck Wendig. Son of a bitch. Mark Waid. Mark Waid wrote that. And you look at Arizona, you're like, yeah, that's Uvalde was 100% Mexican student body and 100% Mexican police force, and the town was like 99% Mexican. And you look at Mark Waid and you go, why is this Second Amendment issues? Why'd you make everyone blonde and red haired? It's kind of weird. Have you been to Arizona or California, Nevada, or anyway? So no, Black Superman. I feel like there should be a better name for that, and there probably is, but I can say it on YouTube. People are not on board with that, and to his credit, J.J. Abrams took a look at that and said, we are not prepared to lose that kind of money. The thing is, BLM, that ship, the USS, it seems like it came and went. Now people kind of have fatigue with that, and something like Black Panther, yes, that was a huge hit, but that was before the whole summer of love and past 5 years of conflict, a soft civil war. Or in Wakanda, it was a black ethno state that was functional, and oddly enough, Wakanda didn't value diversity. Weird, but the Black Americans made them more money than the Dahomey tribe. I imagine Toyota Hiluxes just running around with 50s in the back everywhere, which is probably the future of America, if we're being honest. But Superman, I guess wasn't going to be. They did the numbers on it. Said, hey, Black Superman is not really going to be a big seller because it's not Afrofuturism, which is tremendously popular. And oddly enough, they did do a $6 billion town in Africa. It was some pop star or something. Maybe it sounds like a Nigerian scam. It's like, well, yeah, I guess it was a Nigerian scam because they had the $6 billion and they built part of one building, and it was like has a lot of surface area, and the water would pool in the wrong part of the. It's like was it Frank Lloyd Wright? Like these architects designing buildings versus engineers designing buildings. But the point is, for $6 billion, they have this one. You know what? Hold on. They did an AI like fly through on a $6 billion town, and none of the buildings like structurally made sense, but it looked cool. So what happened was they ended up building. That's the reality on the bottom screen. They ended up building part of one building, and now there's just goats walking around. I guess they just said, you know what? Why don't we just take that $6 billion and just go buy real estate somewhere else? Anyway, as it turns out, Black Superman was not forecast to be a giant hit, so I guess they decided to cut their losses. And the reason is movies do not exist in a vacuum, and people are deciding that, diversity seems pretty gay, and people are more tribal now, and so they want to kind of see themselves represented on screen, which in a diverse America, well, it turns out that's impossible to do. A lot of fatigue over the BLM ripoff, where to the point where even left wingers or Ozzy Osbourne's wife, obviously I'm assuming a far left winger, mentioned getting ripped off to the tune of like $800,000, and you look at her, she goes, "What did I donate that money for?" It's like, I'm really shocked that she got caught up in the virtue signal would be like donating $10,000, but donating $800,000 to BLM, that's insane. But that's what came over a lot of far left wing people, is they thought they could, I don't know, just get some kind of dopamine rush off of that, and they go, you just bought some black lady a house in L.A. You could have just done that directly. So a super black man movie probably would have bombed, and DC and Marvel have seemed like they've lost the audience lately, where they've got a lot of bombs, but even the movies that don't bomb are not the big hits they need to be, not just to make money, but there's reputational association with Hollywood and to put them on the right track. So what they are kind of like placeholder movies, like filler videos for YouTube, where or there's just not enough going on. A lot of those like real YouTube channels will just have to fill the daily spaces. I just, if I'm not interested, I just don't make videos, which is why I'm doing like one video a week. So it leads us to the Deadpool Thunderbolts and the latest Superman movie, and they are, oh, I forgot about this. Ironheart, I guess everyone forgot about that. They're just they're placeholder movies to keep the audience vaguely on board and keep the name in the public, to keep some spark going. So the audience is waiting for DC and Hollywood in general to kind of publicly decide to move away from woke, and that's just not going to happen. In a few years, you're going to see a handful of people be able to get together and make a mix of live action and AI, and eventually just all AI movies for a fraction of the price. And it's only going to get, no, it's not there yet. Obviously, AI looks legitimately satanic, but it is going to be on its way. And even if it's something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but with amazing AI, it's on its way, and it's going to be done like you're going to be making movies for like $10,000 worth of computer hardware or something. Because Hollywood is not really into money, which sounds crazy because they're a blood sacrifice cult that worships Moloch, and they don't care about movies making money. They need to destroy the White West by programming people's minds to accept globalist diversity propaganda, which if you've seen this movie, oh no, it's 2013. Today, the recent Superman, there's a couple scenes in there that if you watch it with the They Live glasses on, look for how they portray brown people in mixed groups of people, and then how they portray homogenous groups of people, though I don't think you see any in this movie. So a black Superman, turns out that's a bridge too far, and it's the further loss of reputation to DC Warner Brothers. So they decided to slow things down a little bit, and I watched the latest Superman. It's a light, funnier version of Superman. It's just consumer soy slop to the everything they say about the Marvel and DC fans is, it's not good to like be on board, to be so on. At one time these movies were fun, but that time was like more than 15 years ago, where they came out with Iron Man 2008. It's like, it's kind of interesting. And then they just kind of got more and more ridiculous, and then the energy around them is pathetic because the movies just weren't that good. They were just okay. They're better than nothing, but you shouldn't, like, to keep it going after 15, 20 years is there's not enough of a foundation to do that. And the thing is, everything with these movies is in the right place, but watching it, nothing seems to matter. And I hear myself talking about these movies, and I know it sounds dysthymic, and I'm not just projecting, because it's not just me. There's a vibe shift going on with all of Hollywood and all of the audience, and it's one half that people are saying something is missing with these movies, but the other side is that the audience is different. They're aware that movies are openly propaganda. They're not aware of the lizard people yet, and if you say that enough on YouTube, I guess the truth does for your investigation. You'll get a warning from YouTube and a link to Wikipedia that tells you that they're not real, which is like, isn't that what you'd expect the lizard people to say, and like YouTube to cover up for them? I'm not saying they're real or anything, but I mean, it's like you don't need to tell us it's not real. It's like, it just makes it kind of weird when you have to have a Wikipedia link or videos on YouTube where they say they're not real. It's like, they're not. Don't get me wrong. I mean, figuratively they are real, but literally no. But it's, now you kind of make it weird. I'm looking around like, holy shit, are they real? Still think it's so fucking crazy. Anyway, there's a lot of globalist, anti-nation propaganda, and obviously the subtle anti-white, anti-Christian messaging. It's always the Bolshevik found family is going to be stronger and better. A bunch of brown people and a strong black woman, black girl magic, strong mixed group of people. Diversity is weakness. To even alterate is in the Bible, right? To make weak. But in movies, diversity is their strength. Like, none of that makes sense. It's Hollywood programming you to get you to think that like Poland, Japan, Hungary are actually really evil, and the diverse the diverse stabbing spree west is actually better. It's like it's not. Anyway, Black Adams is actually this image really seemed to bother. But this is, I mean, what a timeline we're living in. So Black Adams with The Rock was a good example because I mean that was really on the nose. That was right kind of in the middle of the whole Wu flu fiasco where people took a cold. If I say that too many times, I'll get another warning. How many warnings can I get? I think they would just block the video if you say that kind of stuff too much. I mean, it was like, so it's a flu, and you guys are like taking this experimental treatment for. That seems kind of weird. When did you start trusting the government and media? Oh, you understand? They made us scared. Oh, I mean, but isn't that like political manipulation 101? If you make people scared, you can offer them. I mean, didn't Star Wars, the prequels with George Lucas and 25 years ago, didn't the Senate, the guy taking over the Senate, make people scared and take emergency powers? I mean, it was a fucking movie about it. No. It's cool. We trust the government meeting now. Like what? I thought you guys were on the left. How come the right wing? You guys elected Trump, and it was Trump's treatment. You know, Trump's experimental treatment. I go, yeah, sure, but he's not a god to us. We didn't take it. The right wing didn't take it. The left wing did. It's like none of this makes sense. It's because the left is in a pretty deep echo chamber. Anyway, so Black Adams with The Rock was a good example because you had this mom, and I mean I'm sure she's beautiful in real life, but in the movie she was kind of like just a mom running around, and some fat lazy guys, just incompetent men, are in the background, which is probably pretty accurate for that type of the world. And they're in this warm area where people have a lot of explosive tempers and a fondness for dancing boys, but you can't make those guys the bad guys. So they kind of had this group that kind of made you think they were the United Nations to be the bad guys, so they could insert a line in there about this little vaguely brown kid talking about stealing our resources. It's just like globalist fantasy of Soros, one world government type of stuff. But they didn't want to go after the UN because the UN is a left-wing fantasy. So they made the guys very clearly British, so they could give him the English accent. And then guy had the whining about his resources getting stolen, which doesn't make sense to the left wing because they don't believe in lines on the map. They say they value diversity and there's no borders. It's like, well, okay, then why couldn't the French go to Vietnam and take the rubber trees? It's like there's no borders, man. The French and the Vietnamese, there's no different races. They're just all one, right? I mean, the French are in Vietnam, then they're Vietnamese, right? No, you don't understand. You understand that marginalized and oppressed. It's a systemic. It's like none of it makes sense. Obviously, it's all bullshit. They just hate you. Or China going to Africa and taking the minerals. It's like, well, if the Chinese are in Africa, then they become Africans, and they start building towns. And it's like land is just land; it doesn't belong to anyone. I mean, it's obviously this developmentally disabled Bolshevik babble only works one way. But the point is that Black Adams was really heavy-handed, and oddly enough, it lost money, as did Shang-Chi and Black Widow and Shazam and a bunch of SS Squad Part 2, just a bunch of other movies. Wonder Woman was a huge loss. All right, fair enough. That one you can blame on the Wu flu. But so it was like a direct to Netflix or something like this, or HBO. But the thing is, if that was in the theater, it still would have bombed because it was 2.5 hours of. So the opening scene, they're on some island with South America. Is that where the Wonder Woman is from? Diane of Eritreus or something. So how come there's like blacks and Chinese and Indians and Israelis, and they're all like supposed to be Greeks in a South American island or something, or based off a Greek pantheon? It's like just stupid, right? I mean, like a child would look at this and go, "Wait, they're not all one tribe." You bigot. Yes, that might be, that might not be, but none of this doesn't logically make sense. Well, logic is going to be problematic into the gulag with you. So and The Rock, why would you put The Rock in any movies anymore? Every movie he's in has been atrocious. He was in there's some remake about they go to the swamp or something. It's like Jungle Adventure or something like that. but it was, again, that was like girl power as well. Oh, and then in Black Adam, they had Superman, Henry Cavill playing Superman at the end of that, and people were excited to see him. They like him. And then you go, yeah, so you plan to like reboot and start the DC universe over again? So why would you put the guy in the movie? I mean, that just makes you look incompetent. And you look around Hollywood in general and go, yeah, oh, hey, and overexpressive black guy in a TikTok video. Wow, where have I seen? Hey, maybe you'll listen to Led Zeppelin next. Black guy listens to Led Zeppelin. First listen. Yeah, I'm sure. Or a white guy goes to Chinatown and speaks Mandarin perfectly. Yeah, 7 million views. It's like, this has got to be a matrix to keep people distracted with this kind of thing. Anyway, so I guess they had to get rid of the IDF baby killer Gal Gadot, or at least, as you know, that's how they look at her. And Ezra cocaine-fueled underage sex cult Miller in the $300 million Flash. Okay, that was another bomb. I already forgot about that. Hey, honorable mention to Michael Keaton. He did a pretty good job in that. I like the, was that 89 Batman? Michael Keaton? I thought that was pretty good. And don't forget, they had a like a Catgirl movie, but the black girl who was on it's not, I forget her name. She had a big afro, and I'm not sure how the afro fit under the headpiece. But they made the movie, and it was so woke that $100 million movie, and they go, we're going to have to cancel it and throw it away because it's better to take it as a tax loss write-off or something than to put it out there and then lose money on it, but also have reputational harm. That's how woke it was. Because, I mean, that was like during the peak of BLM when these left-wingers, see, like, the right doesn't take the BLM stuff seriously because probably, you know, FBI Table 43 we're familiar with. But we also don't take things like the Wu Flu seriously because we don't trust the government or media. But the left wing is weird. They're on board like every new, I guess the right wing, you know what, the right wing did get on board one fad. That alphabet fad. If I say that letter, I'll probably get another Wikipedia warning. The right wing got on board Q quite a bit, and that's oh god, that's so painful. Sometimes the right wing embarrasses me when I look at stuff like that. And it's like, you know, that's right up there with flat Earth. Ah, shit, that's another wiki. The Earth is definitely an oblate spheroid of revolution. It's weird that you're like, I mean, it is, I agree with you, but it's weird that you need you're very sensitive about that. There's a lot of weird things going on. Anyway, people are saying that the latest Superman, which I saw this afternoon, is kind of heavy-handed as well. The thing is, it was made years ago, and it was made before Israel, so at the time it would have been Ukraine and Russia. But I mean, to be fair, like, there's a war going on literally every day. It's just the West just doesn't care about wars in Africa or you know, guerrilla action in Latin America or the Middle East or whatnot. It's only if we're told to care. Where's it going with this? So the issue is, Superman has to be leading the movie. It's called, you know, Ubermensch. When he's Clark Kent, fair enough, he can be a little bit more laid back. But when he's Superman, he's got to be the person the focus is on. But they kind of try to went in a different direction with this, and it's okay, but it's like movies have to be better than just okay. And it's not like this movie isn't mostly in the right direction. It's that the audience is really sensitive to woke anything. And when you have a Lois Lane who's like a girl power kind of vibe, audience is not on board with it. And I get Superman's not a hit yet, so you have to give it a few days to see, but it's not like an obvious hit. It's just doing okay. So give it another weekend to see if it's gonna, I guess, one, make money, and two, it doesn't. All it has to do is move DC in the right direction, which it probably will do. But the thing with woke is we really have a hair trigger. Sometimes, like with the Marvels, where it's kind of a little bit too sensitive. But because, you know, the Marvels wasn't a bad movie, and there's another one I saw, Thunderbolts wasn't a bad movie either, and Madam Web, I guess, was a bad movie, and then Furiosa, it's like it just has a little girl power in there, and some people can accept that. I'm looking to go like, well, okay, wait, if we're so sensitive, and we are, but legitimately too, we have grounds to be the sensitive. So Hollywood, why not just take a couple years without it, like to, you know, woke in general, girl power, diversity, whatever. Why not just dial it all the way back and try to get the audience back? And for Superman, you'd really want to go back to like the '78 vibe of Superman, where Lois is looking at I had something, I wrote something actually dirtier, but I'll say where Lois was looking at Superman affectionately, and they go, no, we're not going to do that. We'd rather lose money. Like, oh, are we in the Matrix? Because even the Matrix, even the Matrix movie has its own Matrix explanation behind it. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Join us over at Odyssey. There's memberships over there as well, cheaper than YouTube. And I will see you guys on next episode.